Hello and welcome to another Tribal Council for Survivor Hamilton Old Meets New with the Tendua tribe. We are here with our top 7 players. As you can see, for the second tribal in a row, Graham is wearing the immunity necklace. After winning the tournament, he now won his second immunity in a row, and he will definitely be moving on to the top 6. For the rest of the players, I think it's been a pretty productive especially today has been pretty productive, but I'm sure the last few days have been a lot of back and forth. So first, I'm going to throw it to Graham and ask you, bud. I asked you last tribal, but how does it feel to be immune again after a few weeks ago thinking you were out of the game?
It was good today. It was definitely a joint effort. Like last time in the tournament, I got a little bit lucky because Kyle screwed up. And then this time, April and I worked together, and I just happened to be faster than her getting the answer in. But she got more of the answers than I did, actually. So, I feel a little bit bad, but we still wanted to get the fastest answer in as possible so that at least one of us would, get immunity. So it feels good.
So tell me, have you and April been working on the challenges together all season long?
No. Well, we were on opposing tribes for a while, right? And so we were not.
That didn't stop anybody.
So we've only really been working together for the last, since I've been back from exile.
So why do you always answer about 15 seconds before April and then you guys have the same answer every time? Why does that keep happening?
Because I'm the one who checks the answers.
So for instance, on this last one, I got the answer that it was 77. I added everything up. And so I said, it's 77. You might want to check it because I've had a habit of giving her the wrong answer a few times this season. But
you might want to check it. Take an extra 10 seconds and check it.
I've already checked it once myself. I don't need to wait again. And if it's wrong, it's wrong. And then April will get the right answer when she checks it. And then she checked it and she got the same thing. And I just happened to be faster.
Well, it's been funny because, even when you get it wrong, like Graham, you'll submit the wrong answer and then April will submit the wrong answer like 15 seconds after you. And I'm like, well, one of you should have done it separately. And I'm sure one of you would have got it right.
Yeah, it's just about speed a lot. So on the challenges where we actually take our time, that's where, the screw ups don't happen.
April, what are you going to do to make sure that you answer faster than Graham next time?
I'm not going to help him next time.
Good.
I think there was 5 questions we had to answer, and I answered like 4 of them, I think. 3 of them?
Yeah, I already told them that you did that. You don't need to rub it in.
Fair. Jordan, in the past couple challenges, buddy, you've answered quite quickly and you kind of reverted back to rushing a little bit. Why is that?
Honestly, I was sitting on the couch for the last one and I was, in perfect placement to, get a quick answer in. And I just got too excited. I don't know if it was, like you mentioned in the post, I was riding a wave from, the last tribal council, but, I was just really excited. I wanted to answer quickly and I went back into the email to reread it, but I didn't count the number of questions. I just read the, make sure that you do this, you do that. I missed the original release date anyway, so even if I was first, I would have lost. But I think it's just, it's getting down to the wire, Mike, and I'm reverting back out of, just excitement and not doing what was working for me before. So we'll make it through tonight. I'll hopefully revert back to my calm, cool, and collected self for the next immunity challenge.
Can you talk a little bit about the last tribal council and, what your thought process was about using your idol to save James and help send Kyle out the door?
Yeah, I think it was just one. I felt like it was going to be a big move if it worked. I thought it would be good for, kind of shaking things up a little bit within the game. I think it obviously hurt my my trust with Graham and April, which was, something that I, knew going into that vote. Obviously, you have to know something like that, and I think that was a tough thing to do. But I think ultimately it was something that I knew I wanted to do, and I felt if I didn't do it, I would have been on the outs anyway. So it's like, okay, if this doesn't work and it backfires, are you any worse for wear? And I don't think I could say I was. So it was something that, I have this thing and I'm going to use it. If it works, great. It puts us into a position, that I think is a positive position versus just doing it to, create chaos, which was not the goal at all.
Right. Thanks, Jordan. Graham, can you kind of put us in yours and April's shoes a little bit about what, obviously Jordan's been working with you all game long, but he does want to make some of his own moves as well and enjoy the game. So how did that go in the Jackman household?
Jackman, well, since merge, Jordan and I have been pretty honest with each other. Our plans were pretty much the same, like how we're going to get to the end, what the rough order is of who's going to get eliminated and when. And so with Kyle being gone, I wasn't super surprised. And in fact, it was pretty much in line with the plan that I had right after getting off of Exile Island. So I was happy that, my initial plan was kind of being followed, but the surprise was that Jordan didn't do what he said he was going to do per se. So, I mean, personally, I wasn't all that mad, but I know April had been working with Kyle, so it sucked a lot more for her than it did for me because one of her people went home, and so one of her numbers went home ultimately. So there was a little bit of tension, but it wasn't too bad.
April, what's your thought? Obviously, Jordan felt like he was being mentioned by Kyle as a potential target, if not this week, then in the weeks to come. Do you feel like it's tough for you to be working with Kyle and Brian, I guess, as well, and also be working with Graham and Jordan? I asked you a little bit about that last week, but now there's been a kind of more of a big move on that front from Jordan.
Yeah, I think because I was working a little bit closer with Kyle, there was a lot of speculation that vote was based on, and Kyle had actually said to me a few times that he wasn't going to vote for Jordan after what happened before the merge. So I kind of felt like a conversation could have been had to work that out a little bit more, at least so that Graham and I weren't super surprised when it happened. But I think I wasn't surprised at all. I knew it was going to happen at some point.
Right. Thanks, April. Chris, obviously James isn't here tonight for taking part in the video, but obviously Jordan used his idol to save someone in your alliance, and that ended up being the move that sent your brother home. Kind of what was your thought process about that vote and how it went down, and any role that you might have played in helping that happen?
I can see all these jury videos and pictures in here, and it's in the chat. It makes me nervous, man. Yeah, I went back and forth to people that day to see what I could get going. And you can hear me? Is it working?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. And I couldn't get a lot going. There wasn't many options. So I think an hour before, I figured Jordan would want to do that. So I told him where we were voting, and I knew that he was going to do that.
And what was it like to see your brother go home before you?
It was kind of nice, not gonna lie. But I know he was good at this and invested in it and enjoyed doing it. So it's not always fun to see people go home who enjoy it. But someone had to go home, and it was better him than me, I guess.
Right on. Thanks, man. John, with Jordan voting with you last vote to get Kyla, was the initial assumption that he would continue to work with you and Chris and James moving forward?
The initial assumption, it's different when we get this far, Mike. Everybody at the end of the day is playing for themselves in some way. So even though it may seem like, oh, he might have betrayed his family or lost some of their trust, he still didn't vote for them, right? So he, like you said, he felt like he was on the out, so he made a move that he felt that would help his game later on. So working with Jordan long term, it'd be nice. I'd like to. Compared to, I guess, everybody else left in the game, he did what he said, right? Or at least we were on the same side for a vote or for a couple of votes. It's all the other three, unfortunately, we've always seemed to be on the opposite side of the vote. So that's just what has happened so far. Going forward, after this, it's final six, right? So anything's possible depending on how it breaks down.
Thanks. Jordan, are you able to differentiate between, to John's point, voting for Graham and April versus voting kind of against them? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, there's a easy differentiation between the two. Am I going to vote for Graham? No. If I'm going to vote for Graham, it's going to be because we're in a position in a final spot, and we're going to have that conversation. Would I vote for April without talking to her about that? Probably not. But I was closely working with Graham throughout this game. I didn't have the same opportunity to work with April until post merge, and April was sided with Brian and ultimately got connected with Kyle. So it was like, to me, it's an easy line. Is it always going to benefit April and Graham and Brian if I make a decision on my own that doesn't directly vote for them? No. But we're in a game. Let's make some moves that don't directly possibly directly affect somebody that you're working with or wanting to work with or is your family member. But if you're not making a move that you think that you can get behind, like I said last week or last tribal, and you can't be happy with your game, then you're just voting for somebody else, or you're just voting because somebody else is telling you what to do.
Right. Thanks, George. That makes sense to me. Brian, heading into this vote, is it pretty clear that there's 2-3-person alliances and you're kind of in the middle, able to decide, which way to go? Or are you still, or have you found yourself still much more tied to, April and Graham than the other side?
I thought it was more clear cut, but then as I learned things throughout the last day, I guess it was just really today, maybe last night today, it seemed like it was more gray area than that.
In which way?
Just that, like Jordan obviously voting with him last time, that there's a possibility of him voting with them again. Instead of it just being 3-3, there was it almost seemed like Jordan and I were both in the middle, potentially. And it was 2-2.
One thing we talked a little bit about last week was the idea of you getting voted out today and then that leaving the final six with two groups of three, which could potentially be in a tie. Did you talk at all about that with the different players in the game and trying to help them avoid that scenario?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned it. I think it's obvious. You don't want a clear-cut 3 versus 3, because then unless there's an idle play and you guess right, then it's almost positively going to rocks, and then no one wants that, really. So I was hoping that there would be more interest in working with me than there was, maybe. But yeah, I thought that was clear. But then again, whatever happens today, it almost will, the way it is, it's almost going to end up 3 versus 3 no matter what, I think.
Chris, as somebody who's watched a lot of the TV show, you're basically a student of the game now. How concerned were you about next week being in a 3-3 tie and potentially having to go to rocks? You're muted. Sorry, bud.
I love rocks. I love that idea. That's you see who has balls of steel, on the show. That happened a couple times, and I loved it. But no, I think there's always room because of that for someone to switch teams, because they don't want to do that.
John, how do you feel about that? I know you watched the show. How do you feel about the potential of being maybe randomly eliminated next week if Brian goes home today?
I think I feel different if it was worth $1 million. With this one, it's if it is 3 versus 3, it's like, okay, is it worth winning this game and burning my friendships? Like, at this point in the game, we've stayed together so far, right? I think, like that's where I see it. I think if it was $1 million, I think we're all playing a lot more different. But because it's Survivor Hamilton, we're all invested, but it's a different kind of stakes.
But did you fight for Brian's vote to avoid that scenario at all?
It's been difficult,
He was moving yesterday.
Yeah, and I think at the same time with Brian, we've been on the other side of the vote every time, right? So it's hard to say, okay, I want to work with you now, right? Like, we tried maybe before, and the ideas weren't always the same that we agreed upon, but it was just like, if you look at the history of the vote, I don't think we've been on the same side for any of them.
Right. So it's a hard thing to just start doing now, knowing especially the trust Brian has on the other side.
Yeah, like it's trying to weigh that pro and con, and it's just difficult. In my own view, it's just really hard.
Thanks, John. Chris, one thing I'm writing about in my post, right, before we were doing this video, was the idea that in a 4-3 split, the swing vote is the person you have to tell your plan to is also the potential person who can blow up your plan to the other side. Does that make it really difficult to get a fourth person to your 3 because you know that they could potentially tell your information to the other 3?
Yeah, there was a couple times, different situations where people were pitching us a different plan as a 3 this week, to say, come in and I want to come and vote with you guys. But we got to talk about that with each other, and there's one person expresses doubt on one person or the other, and it's hard to know who to trust for sure.
Brian, do you think there's a lot of information going across sides right now in the game?
I almost think there's less going across the side. I think the information is more controlled now, and people have been playing the game and they're aware of it. And I think what goes across is more controlled than what it used to be. Before, alliances were a lot more open and fluid, and there was a lot of secret alliances which have come out after the fact, and information was getting out of hand where you can't tell where it comes from. Whereas now you can almost, like, if information does cross lines, you know where it's coming from, essentially.
Right. Thanks, Brian. Graham, how much are you thinking about the jury and big moves and, who's going to get the vote at the end versus literally just still trying to go week to week?
I'm just trying, like Jordan said last time, I'm just trying to play a game that I'm happy with. Even if something comes up that is unexpected and you have to, make a change that you weren't expecting to make, finding a way to play the rest of your game the way that you want to play it, something you're happy with, that's really all I'm focused on. And if that means that at the end, if I make it to the end, the jury doesn't like it and doesn't want to vote for me, then so be it. At least I made it that far for one, and at least I was happy with the way that I played.
Do you think you have to work just a little bit harder in the end because you were voted out earlier in the game?
Yeah, I think I definitely have an issue there to overcome. I think it's possible, but depending if I make it to final 2, depending on who I'm up against, it's going to be really, really hard for me to overcome that, even if I do big move after big move. But I've been winning a bunch, so I've been trying.
April, do you think you beat Graham if you 2 are sitting in the final 2?
Yes, 100%.
I also think so.
Brian put his hand up. Were you agreeing with that?
No, Andrew's just sitting beside me. I was showing her where the frame of the camera was.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, don't make the same.
But actually, I do agree. I think April wins.
John, do you think that everybody in the game has an ideal person to sit with in the end?
I'm pretty sure. Like you know what I mean? Like, I think everybody has an idea. You know, obviously, if you take one of your friends, it just depends whether you think you have a better resume. But now that there's six, there are going to be 6 of us left, I think you can sort of pick who you want or who you think your best odds of winning are with, right?
Yeah, and you mentioned on last tribal that who you're sitting with has a very big impact on the stories you're going to tell and the pitch you're going to make in the end. So it really makes a difference if you're against somebody who played a really strong game or a different type of game. That really impacts your chances, right?
For sure.
Chris, do you feel like you've, at this point, played one of the stronger games this season in terms of all around, maybe not as many challenge wins as you'd like, but, you know, in terms of the social and strategic side, feel like you're pretty proud of this game compared to last time around?
I'm just a salesman trying to sell a story, man. I do feel a lot better about it than last game. Yeah, like I started out well last game. I was having some fun, and then it got a little too crazy. Got a little too excited, and so it's definitely nice to make it further this time. Even though you know, looking forward to the end, the finish line. So I'm proud of it. Yeah, played a good game.
Thanks, Chris. So Jordan, one last question here. Do you, when you're looking at potential targets left in the game, how important is it to go after those people who you feel like played, you know, in your opinion, a really strong game to potentially move them out of the way for, you know, a finals appearance?
Good question. I don't know if I'm thinking about it in the way of, did they play a strong game so that when we get to, if we get to the finals, that we're going to get to a situation where it's their game versus my game. I'm thinking more along the lines of like, where is their voice in this current scenario and how is that going to affect this current vote, or, you know, with another reward coming, or what's going to be the next twist that Mike's going to put in. And, you know, I'm just kind of thinking more along those lines. And I know that I should probably be transitioning my mindset to more of what's this going to be like if you make it to final 2. I think we're still a ways away from that, in my opinion, though.
Thanks. Actually, one more question for John. How, you know, there are some advantages and reward challenges that, you know, were out in the game that haven't necessarily been played yet. How much does that weigh into your mind in terms of decisions and trying to anticipate what other people are going to do? Yeah.
I think it just depends what it is, right? Like, for example, the one yesterday, we knew it was an idol. You know what I mean? So you can put that out there and sort of figure it out, right? The one that Graham won when he won his immunity challenge, we have no idea what it is, right? You can guess, like, it could be this, it could be that, but because you don't know, you know he has something. You just gotta try to guess, you know, maybe what you think, right? I think that's. But at the end of the day, you can't like think too hard about it because it's not gonna, like, you can only do so much, right? And we know that Graham has it, but we don't know what it is, right? So I think you sort of try to play the odds, you try to work with it, but at the end of the day, you can't really control that, right?
Right. Cool, man. Well, thanks for that.
I just have one question about that. Has any advantage that has been played? I know you can't like reveal anything secret that has been played not come from the show. Like, have you made any original advantages that have been played? I don't know about what isn't out there, but what's been out there so far.
I don't think so. I would have to go back and look at the list of what was probably played earlier in the game, but I don't think so. And there might be some slight alterations based on this version of the game, but I think everything that I've made has been a direct I stole them directly from the show, other than maybe some things around choosing tribes and, but kind of the individual advantages have all been from the show. Okay, so I think we'll get to the vote now, unless anybody has anything they want to add for their fellow tribe mates. Okay, so as is tradition, before we get to the vote, we got to see if any player is volunteering to use a hidden immunity idol.
Yeah, I used it on me. I just wasn't sure if it was going to be, if the votes were going to be on me or not. So that's what idols are for. So.
Okay, so first things first. Yes, so as you can see here, I'm sharing an image of an idol that Chris is using to save himself. Is anybody else playing anything?
Yep.
And Graham, what are you playing?
Idle Nullifier.
So you played an idol nullifier with your vote. Whose idol did you nullify?
That's obvious.
Chris's.
So just so I can explain, and you can see it on the screen here, Graham won this advantage with the Tournament of Champions. He had to predict who he thought was going to use the idol. He predicted right that Chris was going to use it, and so Chris's idol that he just used was canceled out.
And the phone's already blowing up.
So, there may be another surprise here, but what I'm going to say is I'm going to get to the votes now, and we'll determine what happens. So there's no other idols being played, so every vote cast today will count. Sorry, Chris. Blame Graham, or blame however Graham knew that you were using an idol tonight.
I didn't. I did not know. It was
Was it just a lucky guess, eh?
lucky guess. And I only had until final 5 to use it. So I'm like, if I'm gonna use it, I might as well put it out.
All right, stop jury managing.
All right, we'll talk.
I'm gonna get to the vote. All right, so I'm gonna read the votes. The person voted out will become the 8th member of the jury, and the jury will officially outnumber the remaining players in the game. First vote, Ryan. Second vote, Brian. That's 2 votes, Brian. Third vote, Brian. That's 3 votes, Brian. Fourth vote, Chris. That's 3 vote, Brian, 1 vote, Chris. Fifth vote, Chris. That's 3 votes, Brian, 2 votes, Chris. Sixth vote, Chris. So we're tied. 3 votes, Brian, 3 votes, Chris, 1 vote left, and I have something else to announce. So another advantage was played today by a secret player, and they can reveal it if they'd like, but they don't have to at this point. But so, as you can see, an advantage that was won earlier in the game to steal a vote was used. So this player decided to steal Chris's vote and cast our final vote for Chris. So lots of advantages today, but unfortunately, Chris, by a 4-3 vote, your own vote against yourself, I'm sorry, you've joined the jury.
Man, I
sorry,
can't
buddy.
That was a good one.
So, Brian, what'd you say?
Oh, I can't believe all those rewards got played.
That was a lot. So, unfortunately, Chris, that's the outcome, but you got done in by a bunch of rewards. So it's like an army had to go against you, but you're joining the jury. I know you're bummed.
Look forward to it. No, it's all right. It's all right. I'm just answering all this.
Well, everybody else, say goodbye to Chris and enjoy the rest of your Saturday.
It was a good game, guys.
Good game, guys. Nice play, Brian.
Sorry, buddy.
Good game.
All right.